All right, we're now going to talk about the Luba people. And again, this is in Central Africa here. Always looking at that geography is very helpful. So we have some traditional religious beliefs of the Luba people that include a concept of a universal creator and a supreme being. And part of the natural world and the supernatural world. And some of the intricate artwork of the Luba people was about mnemonic devices. So creating these amazing, like symbolically coded script that really kind of aided and preserved their history. Um, so it's very similar, really, to keeping a manuscript, keeping some historical records, but again, it's part of a kind of braille-like mnemonic device system, and that's what brings us to the image for the Luba people. It's number 177. It's called Lukasa, which translates to a memory board. And I think this is such a fascinating piece. This one in particular is between 19th and 20th century. It's composed of like a wooden slab with beads and metal and some other kind of natural parts. So really what you're looking at here is a recording of a lot of their oral histories. The Luba people are really, dynamic in their oral narratives. And this is how they would record a lot of their stories and a lot of their historical facts. So what you're looking at here is a system of interpretation that is done visually as well as with the hands in a tactile sense. It recounts the past and is also the the past is also explained in a very performative that includes both song and dance as well. What I have here is some contextual photos. So this is an image of a Luba member that is, reading and kind of interpreting these memory boards. And so it's kind of creates like a map per se. It's kind of read like a map, and you have to have that tactile, almost performance experience by touching the surface with the right forefinger. So there's like a ceremonial way of reading the memory boards, but only certain members of society are trained to not only create the memory boards but read them, because it's a system of repetitive symbols that only certain people are trained. But as the memory board is read, it's almost like reading a story, like reading a book to gathering people. So the story of the memory board is spoken, but again, only a few important people are able to actually create and read it. This here on this slide is kind of like an outline of the interpretation of one memory board. So it's a black and white drawing, and the one on the left here is kind of hard to read, so I just have a section that's blown up. But we have a lot of different items here. We have shells and beads, different parts of wood and stick that's kind of severed in half. But a lot of the placement of these things and the patterns that they create when put together represent something symbolic. So here we have a depiction of the road that's leading to Mibidi, which is the spirit capital. We have this marking right here, that is the current chief's personal residence, and then surrounded by his title holders. This coca shell is interprets as the little house of unhappiness, where the chief is invested, and so each memory board will be telling a different, story, a different fable, a different myth, but also different kind of factual interpretation of history, prior chiefs, and kind of kingships of their people. Next, we have in the Democratic Republic of Congo, we have here the Congo people, and we have practices of a lot of shamanistic practices where sacred medicines and ceremonies and divine protection and shamans that are connected with the spirit world are translated to the Congo people, and really help them with many different situations and ailments, and guidance throughout their lives. And so that brings us to number 172. It's the Nikisi figure, or you can call it just the power figure. This is from late 19th century. It's mostly made of wood, but there's some metal in here. These kind of nail-like pieces are made of metal. And this is such an interesting figure, and there's tons of these. Okay, they're plentiful. They're still utilized today. You see them all over, museums of history and things like that, art museums as well. But really, what they symbolize is they symbolize, they're individualized to a specific need. So it could be a variety of representations. It could be somebody went, to a shaman because of, a health ailment. And so the shaman kind of conjures up a remedy that's both natural and spiritual, to kind of help with that ailment. Or a power figure could be used, to help, a family that is, having like really poor luck or troubles with their finances. And so you can go to the shaman and have a power figure developed to kind of help aid in, remedying their situation. Power figures can also be used to seal like an agreement. If there's a land agreement or some sort of, um, you know, contract put together between two peoples, then the power figure can also be created to kind of help, spiritually and mystically seal the deal. Power figures can also be developed by shaman to, almost kind of hold the criminals accountable as well, where there's wrongdoing, and a person of guilt. A shaman can put together a power figure that would help ensure that, a punishment is serviced to, that wrongdoing or that criminal. So there's a lot of individualized functions for the Nikisi, and like I said, there's quite a bit of these that are constructed and developed. What is most important to understand about these power figures is it's kind of a twofold. So all of them are always carved in some sort of, recognizable human figure. So that's a consistency. And another consistency is within the belly, within the chest of these power figures, there'll be a hole, because this is actually a vessel. This is a container. And so that vessel, is where the shaman will put together a recipe of natural medicines and herbs. And, these recipes are developed according to, the need or the ailment or the problem. And so those natural medicines are shoved inside the container of the power figure. And then the exterior is also kind of designed as well to, help aid in the, the mission or the request or the need. It's quite often that, you'll see a lot of nails that are put into the figure, and sometimes those nails will either be added, throughout time or subtracted throughout time. It's basically all under the direction of the shaman. But it's not always nails. Sometimes you'll see fibers that are attached to these power figures, or fabrics, beads, feathers, other types of like natural features can adorn the exterior of the power figure. And once the shaman has kind of conjured up this power figure and, the medicinal herbs and, the exterior, necessities, then it is given to you kind of with, a set of directions to kind of help invoke this, spiritual spiritual way of resolving or solving a situation. Our next image that we're going to look at comes from the Yoruba people, and here we're back in the north central Nigeria, and Yoruba people are very diverse in and among themselves. A lot of monarchies are formed in these Yoruban societies, and the Yorubas are also known for, as diverse as they are as a people, so is a lot of their art forms. They work with a wide array of materials that include bronze, leather, terracottas, ivories, lots of textiles, different metals, stone, ceramics, and glass. And what we have here for the Yoruba people is image number 180. It's titled Enthroned King and Senior Wife. And what this is, it looks like a small little sculpture here or small little wood carving here when we look at our AP image. But this is actually very large, because this is an architectural feature, and it is a post. It's a veranda post. A veranda being, like a covered porch. And so this is one of the posts that's part of the veranda. This is from 1910 to 1914. It is carved wood, but it is also treated with a painted pigment. So this is the entire image, and then I've given you just kind of some close-ups, some details, so you can really look at the content from multiple views. And I have attached here a great little video from Smart History Khan Academy that gives you a much better kind of contextual understanding. It puts it in its environment and allows you to kind of see how it would look in regards to its intent and its function. And sometimes that really just helps us connect with the piece more. So when I put in a link and I put in a video, it's there to really enhance that image, because by just looking at the image and talking about it, it may not be enough. So if you have a minute, I would definitely check out the video. But basically, in the early 20th century, a ruler commissioned a project for one of Yoruba's best sculptors, and his name was Olowe of Ise. So this is the artist that is associated with this piece. It's something you're going to want to know. Most of these pieces in our cultural content areas, but especially Africa, we don't have an artist name. We just have the association with the society of people. But when we do have an artist that we can attribute it to, then you're going to want to know that artist name. So Olowe of Ise, he created veranda posts for the exterior courtyard of the Yoruba palace. So this is, their monarchy, their king's palace. Um, Oluwe had a beautiful style of exaggerated proportions and the use of, a lot of open negative space, which really shows the skillfulness of his carving, knowing that, these posts came out of one large kind of trunk of wood and that these were intricately carved in order to get all these areas of negative space. But also these, lovely exaggerated proportions and figures not only gave him a certain style, but also kind of was translated symbolically. And one of the things that you'll notice is that we have the enthroned king, so the king actually sitting on his throne, but we also then have his first wife that is standing there before him. And if we think about the concepts of hierarchy of scale, this is really kind of the opposite of that. So coming back here, if this is our king sitting on the throne, even picturing him standing up, we can definitely attest that he is not the size of his first wife that is standing behind him on the throne. Symbolically, there is an importance that the first wife has to the king. She plays a significant role in his leadership. She is also the one that, during a coronation is actually the one that places the crown upon his head. So this kind of position that she's in, along with her scale, really depicts her role to the king. We have some smaller figures down at the bottom. One of them is actually another wife, but it's his junior wife. So the king's first wife is called the senior wife, and then the king may have multiple junior wives. So we do have one of his junior wives at his feet, and then there's also an attendant who is like a flute playing god, and then there's also a fan bearer, just an attendant that is there to kind of cool and fan the king. But that has actually been missing, broken off, and now missing. But in its originality, the fan bearer was also there. There were multiple veranda posts. The one that we're responsible for is this one here, the seated king and his wife. But the other ones were, they were different, and they were all there to kind of represent the king and this kind of royal family. And the ruler. So the other veranda post depicted the queen presenting twin daughters. There's a man on horseback, a kneeling woman supporting a horse and a rider. So, like I said, this ruler commissioned Oluwe to create multiple veranda posts that had different types of depictions of the ruler and his family. Our next image comes from the Igbo people, and the Igbo people is another very diverse group of people that is kind of spread out geographically. And so with that being said, it's kind of very difficult to generalize about this people's art style because it's pretty broad. So we can definitely say that most Igbo do a lot of carving. Wood is definitely their primary medium. They make masks and sculptures as well. But the function of these masks and sculptures would definitely vary from village to village. So the one that we're going to be learning about is number 176. It's called Ikenga Shrine Figure, again from 19th to 20th century. It's pretty small in size. It's 48 inches or 48 centimeters tall. And I remember the Igbo people are kind of spread out around present-day Nigeria, and this is all wood. So really what we have here is, in terms of content, we have a human face, but some animal-like characteristics. So we have a lot of blending of human and animal forms. These are usually very, very small. They're not sculpted large, and that's because this is a shrine figure. So the purpose of these figures is they are um, they're they're sculpted to honor important men in the society. This one most likely was made for a warrior or an important member of their kind of military. It's This one specifically is seated on a stool, and that is a definite sign of honor. And you'll always see symbols of power, like holding a sword and things like that, to show kind of their status. Um, there's also, these are also personalized to specific men, and actually the men themselves commission these shrine figures for themselves. So they are customized, they're commissioned, and it's, like I said, related to that man's life. And then once it has been sculpted, then the owner of that takes it home and utilizes it in a shrine in their home. It's known as an object of strength. It's a personification of achievement, and it's a really kind of important status symbol for a man to be able to have kind of earned this, achieved it, and be able to have commissioned it. Just like most shrines in any type of religious or spiritual form, it's consecrated with offerings. It's maintained and honored in their home until the owner dies. Oftentimes it's then passed down. If it's not passed down, then this figure is destroyed. And depending upon the man and his successes in life, he definitely can commission more than one. So depending upon their status, they may have multiple of these within their home. Okay, so now we're going to go over here to the West Coast on the Mende people, and there's the Mende art is definitely associated with initiation and healing, kind of very ceremonial, ritualistic art. There's two main educational societies within the Mende, and it's the Sande for women and the Poro for men. The primary role of these societies is to teach, kind of their roles, their gender roles, their expectations of the community. And the mask wearing, the mask making and mask wearing that they do are definitely done, to be pleasing to the spirits. They, embody the dancer during the ceremony, and becomes part of a very spiritual, ritualistic practice. What we're going to be looking at here are called the Bundu masks, and they're the only known masking tradition in Africa that are worn by women. So this is very unique. This is a definite takeaway that you need to be aware of for this image and for the Mende people. And that's where we're at now, 175. It's called the Bundu mask. It's from present-day Sierra Leone, and it is from the Sande Society of the Mende people. And we have 19th to 20th century wood, cloth, and fiber. And so this is a society that is still, thriving today and present in this area today. So what you need to know about this mask is that it is um, worn only by women and worn to kind of idealize female beauty. So what we have here are kind of some abstract symbolization of markings that are considered beautiful adornment to women, like elaborate hairstyles that are status symbols in their society. The large forehead is an object of beauty. You have smaller eyes, tight-lipped mouth that kind of symbolizes, you know, expected behaviors of women and kind of the keeping of secrets. And so this Sunday society within the Mende people, this is, the female society, and it's a group of women who prepare girls for adulthood and their role in society. Um, this this wooden mask is not worn completely over the head, but kind of rests on top of the head, almost like a hat would. And then all that raffia, which is, just fibers, would cover the entire body. So that you really can't make out the body at all. It's just about the mask on top. You can see how beautiful and shiny that is. So that is it's treated with a heavy palm oil so that it kind of seals the wood and creates this lustrous shine, which also accentuates, the beauty of, kind of that shiny, hydrated skin. Um, and basically, this is part of an entire ceremony that is, part of a kind of coming of age for women. I have here a video that if you do anything, if you watch any of the links and videos that I have in the slideshow, please, please, please watch this one. Because you can actually see the ceremony in action. It's a really, really great video, and I also cannot stress to you enough that this is the important part of these cultural content areas. Is AP definitely wants you to be able to not just talk about the art, but more so talk about its contextual placement within these societies. So being able just to say, hey, this is a mask worn by women, and it shows a beautiful hairstyle. Like, they really need you to understand how these objects, these art objects, are used in their culture. And a lot of times, listening to words and seeing words that explain it is one thing, but taking 5 minutes to watch a video to see how it's authentically used kind of just resonates with you, and you'll be able to talk about it much more deeply if you're asked to on the test. So please, please, please watch this video so that you can understand it thoroughly.